welcome back to my channel. I'm Sean, and this is Sean Turns Up the Volume. I've got for you today a news story about crime. I'll probably have a series where I just do reactions to crime stuff because that is just something that interests me. Crime and justice and injustice in society, not made up social justice kind of stuff, but real crime, real justice. So I'm going to be talking about this that I came across today, and this was on Twitter. I'm going to play the link here. It says 16-year-old who racked up 277 criminal charges has now been identified as Jonah Oliver of Charlotte, North Carolina. According to authorities, Jonah committed 275 offenses in less than 3 months. This is on a Twitter, an X of Matt Von Swall. I did find a article for this as well. North Carolina juvenile offender who had 275 charges was released on probation. Now he's being charged as an adult. These are firearms. Looks like stuff that he's stolen. Let's see what the article says. Let's see here. So he racked up the 275 charges. The CMPD highlighted the juvenile's case in June. After being extradited to South Carolina, he was placed on probation, released to the guardian in August. Okay, so all of these charges, and he just gets released to whoever this guardian is. That seems to be working out real well, right? Career criminal at 16. Let's see here. Went on to describe incidents the suspect has been involved in since that arrest, for which he was tried in juvenile court and released again, according to release. In October, the suspect was involved in the vehicle pursuit with Mooresville police after breaking into multiple vehicles. After crashing the vehicle, he was taken into custody on 15 charges. 15 charges, including several for possessing stolen firearms. Now, I will say the name of this article. This was an article from December 12th, 2025 by Jonah Putman. And North Carolina juvenile offender who had 275 charges was released on probation. Now he's being charged as an adult. I think I already said that. Anyway, going back into the article here. In November, the juvenile stole a car, participated in armed carjacking, 16, and using weapons to threaten people and steal their vehicles, and shot into an occupied residence associated with a gang member. So engaging in violent crime with other potential gang members. What else does this article say? They secured warrants. 16-year-old habitual offender. They're going to charge him as an adult. Filed a search warrant. Found multiple firearms as well as key programmers. Let's see. Suspect been charged with robbery with a dangerous weapon, conspiracy to commit robbery with a dangerous weapon, possession of a stolen goods, discharging weapon into an occupied dwelling, felon conspiracy, injury to personal property, possession of a weapon of mass destruction. What did he have that was a weapon of mass destruction? Possession of a handgun by a minor. So really, there's just a slew of charges for each of these things being thrown at him, which I think is, it makes sense. He's being held without bond, according to the release. Investigators also identified the juvenile as a person of interest in nearly 80 car break-ins across multiple jurisdictions, and additional charges expected. This arrest reflects the persistent, thorough investigative work of our officers, as well as the importance of teamwork in addressing repeat offenders who pose ongoing threats to our community, the department said. Let's look and see what's on this Twitter video. Let's see what it says.
This is Jonah Oliver. We typically would not show you the mugshot or share the name of a 16-year-old. But after being charged 275 times,
this isn't unusual either,
and now facing charges in adult court, we are the latest example, some say, of a repeat offender problem when it comes to juveniles in our community.
275
2 weeks ago, police say
offenses.
Oliver and another person carjacked a man with a gun moments after the victim pulled out of this Shell gas station on Statesville Avenue. Then the next day, detectives say Oliver shot into this home,
carjacking,
Columbus Circle, in West Charlotte's Ashley Park neighborhood.
Stolen guns.
Police say it was affiliated with a rival gang member. 2 cars were also shot into here.
Shooting at
Nobody
somebody's
was
home.
hurt. Detectives pinned
Shooting
Oliver
at
to
somebody's
both
vehicles.
crimes and say they found these firearms inside the home where the teen lives. 2 of them had switches, turning them into fully automatic firearms. Through court documents...
Okay, so 2 of these guns that he had switches. I assume that... I didn't look real close at what guns were on here, but I'm only aware of Glocks having switches. I have not been paying attention enough to what all the different makes and models of things are anymore. I'm just out of the loop with it. So this one's got a big old drum magazine for it. Assume stolen. They said he stole firearms. I mean, a 16-year-old's not legally buying them. And then the switches. So the switches make the guns fire full auto. Probably... I don't know. There must be 2 Glocks here. I assume it would be for Glocks. I haven't heard of there being auto switches on other types of pistols, right? It's been the easiest thing to convert the Glocks. Right, so just stolen firearms. 2 of these with switches would be considered machine guns. I think there would be federal charges for that potentially too.
The automatic fire.
What else is
from
here?
8 local jurisdictions. Over 100 of these charges were for breaking and entering into vehicles and larceny of autos. Think about that for a moment. 275 charges in less than 3 months.
Lieutenant Allison Sudreth is with CMPD's Juvenile Accountability and Diversion Empowerment Unit, known as JADE. She could not talk about Oliver's case, but says it is one example of many juveniles not being held accountable.
We see the same offenders recommitting. It is very saddening, but again, this takes a village of a team of people to correct this problem.
Lieutenant Sudreth.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a problem of accountability. Anything else here? What else do they
Change
say?
to fix the problem.
We rely heavily on our judges, and so we need stronger detention when applicable for high-risk juvenile offenders.
She's being careful in what she says. So there's so many stories like this. You know, this is one example. Think about 275 charges. I think it was up to 200. This says 277 here. And so, like, for one, these are adult. This is not like stole some gum. These are adult level crimes. He's breaking into tons and tons of vehicles. Like, he has clearly just no moral issues with obeying by the not just like the rules of society, but by common humanity. The amount of crimes, the repetitiveness of this, and then you've got the judges, the system are obviously going soft on him, don't know what to do with him. I mean, gets released on probation, commits a bunch more crimes. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a litany of probation before this. Basically slaps on the wrist, like, oh, you're gonna have to wear a monitor and report to somebody and have a curfew. Like, he's been practicing being a career criminal and is engaging with gang. It sounds like gang violence and stuff for probably years of his life already, and he's just a kid, and yet there's no excuse for it, and people need to be holding him accountable. Like, who are the parents in his life? Like, who are the judges who keep releasing him? Like, what sorts of punishment? Like, what's been the accountability for this person since then that's led to this kind of behavior? And honestly, like society can't operate like this. Like that amount of destruction. I think it mentioned somewhere like having broken into like 80, something like suspected of being involved in 80 break-ins here. So the amount of destruction that one person can cause that isn't being held responsible is just, it's just massive. Like if you let one person just run amok, I mean, it's like in, I don't know, like countless action movies, thrillers, whatever, where there's like one bad guy who can, I just watched Die Hard yesterday. It's like one small group of guys can cause immense amount of chaos and evil and destruction. It takes one bad apple to like ruin the whole crop. I don't know. This is one example across society of countless where you've got like adults who aren't being held accountable for what this person is doing, what this teen is doing, judges who almost certainly either don't have the means of sentencing really strict, or sob stories justifying that, well, because he's black, that justifying lighter sentences, blaming society. I mean, this is typical liberal argumentation that it's society's fault and things like that. It's just so ridiculous. Like this, like society cannot tolerate allowing the small portion, relatively small portion of dysfunctional people who are just going to do chaos and destroy to continue to operate in society. It's anarchy, and then the law contributes to the anarchy with being not just soft on crime but pro-crime. I mean, the liberal left is pro-crime. They want this kind of thing and they justify it. I wrote down some notes here to hit on as I'm making this video. I mean, because I got many areas that I would blame. Like, again, this is just one example. I mean, I could probably find countless stories like this where it's a teen, a young person, whether they're children, teens, guys in their 20s, like they get off track. They've got a lack of any moral upbringing growing up, probably a lack of a stable home life, probably getting fed all kinds of crap in social media and stuff, and being inculcated in surroundings where they're having bad influences by others, and it's just like perpetuating more of it. But I think that this is a byproduct of the sexual revolution and LBJ's great society, the welfare state that the liberal left wants. You've got people just having sex, no accountability, making babies that they're not ready to take care of, dads broken home, broken families, dads who aren't around being held accountable, and the women just relying on welfare, just relying on the state. So there's just like systemic lack of accountability, reliance on the government. It's self-producing, and so many of us know this. Like it's so obvious. So then there's people with either crappy, terrible role models, or the lack of any role models at all, as far as like role models in like a loving, healthy parental environment. And then on the welfare side of things, you're not seeing like parents going to work and being responsible. You're not seeing like if you have to actually work for things, you have to actually appreciate them. And there's risk of loss to it too. Like people take care of things that they own. People value money more when they earn it themselves. And if you're not earning it, you're not seeing mom and dad earning money, being responsible people. if you're just seeing them get a free paycheck, just seeing them live off of welfare. I, in one of my other videos, showed clips of these people who are like gloating about the fact that they're getting welfare. There's, the EBT SNAP stuff with the government shutdown revealed all manner of just how there are just countless people, maybe millions of people, who are just living off of that system, who just think it's their right to live off the system. You've got the liberal left that will defend it as a sort of a reparation. Of course, there's no reparation that's enough, but they'll just justify it. People in Minnesota don't care. A lot of them don't care about the Somalis ripping off the system with their fake organizations, fake charity to the tune of like $1 billion or more. As it's just like, well, don't pick on the minority immigrants from Somalia. It's kind of like, well, America just owes them because America's evil and white people are evil, so they just kind of owe it. So, don't hold people to the same account. There's, of course, I think the gang and rap culture, of course, are contributors to this kind of thing. This is normalized. I can't think of any other musical culture where you have this kind of crap. Metalheads don't go out and for all the dark imagery and stuff like that could be in metal music. There's never been an association of like that causing violent crime. There's not metalhead gangs going out and shooting each other or something like that. There's no country music based gangs. People making country music aren't getting offended on Facebook and then going and shooting each other up. I listen to goth music, and there's just no violent scene around that. There's nothing like the violence around rap music, rap culture, gang culture, prison culture. It's all intertwined. It's all like popular culture, rather than looking upward to refinement, has looked downward into the abyss of the culture of crime and has made that art and has lifted that up. I'm reading a book by, I think his name is Theodore Dalrymple, and he wrote a book called Life at the Bottom, and he was, what I was just reading was just talking about this, how society has switched from looking upward, that there's higher culture, there's higher things to aspire to, and rather that getting flipped on its head to where even people of wealth and status want to basically look downward towards the things that are not classy, not high culture, things like that. So basically society getting turned upside down. It's been a good read so far. What else can I blame here with the just one example of rampant crime, of teens just going off the deep end in social destruction with no accountability. I mean, parents are to blame, schools are to blame, because the troublemakers basically get a slap on the wrist for things over and over again. Classes have to cater to the students who are the most disruptive. They get catered to in by receiving mental health services that don't, I would say, maybe have mixed results, and it can be difficult to change really all the environmental factors, as well as the fact that there are just moral components to these sorts of things, but it's being treated as a mental health issue. I think on a grander scale, I would blame the shift in our culture, of course, away from God and towards more. It kind of looked like maybe earlier in the 20th century, like maybe that an atheist rationality would maybe become what culture was more influential in culture, and yet it seems that it's been, if anything, like people have, at least a part of culture has lost any religious affiliation, but they're also not strictly atheistic, more like vaguely spiritual, or just not even like thinking about it. It's just I see kind of the grand theory of evolution as basically giving an excuse to people to abandon religion, at least some sect of society to abandon religion, and kind of like, oh, okay, we're just materialist beings, and like it's enough of a hammer to beat down the influence of Christianity, but it doesn't replace it with anything. But like society hasn't been replaced by like intellectual atheist Richard Dawkins types either. It seems like it just left a moral void, which I haven't read Nietzsche, but I think with his statement that God is dead, and it's like a lament, at least from all the times I've heard people talk about the meaning of it. Essentially, like what is society going to do now that they've destroyed this source of maybe morality and meaning and things like that? So you've got like apathetic criminal person who is just doing whatever the heck he wants, just robbing, stealing, destroying, just leaving chaos in his wake, and there's a million more like him, and who cares? And society locks these people up with other people who are like-minded, and they just inculcate in they just stew in prisons, learning how to commit crimes better, come out after short sentences if they even get sent to prison, and then come out and do more of the same because they've just been surrounded in other criminals. And then the liberal mindset gives them an excuse, just feeds the excuses, just, oh, well, it was your childhood. Well, it was society's fault. Well, it was racism. Well, it was, well, you just didn't have the privilege that others had. It was systemic. It was a lack of economic resources. It was the school didn't have enough resources. It was this, it was that. It's everybody else's fault. It's not somehow it's morally everybody else's fault in all of these ways, but it's not morally the fault of the person who actually committed the crime, let alone committed the crime over and over and over again, let alone committed countless crimes. While the people, normal people, law-abiding people, go out, you wake up, you get dressed, maybe you got kids to take care of, maybe you just got you to take care of, you use an alarm clock, you make sure you do whatever you need to for the day, you go to school, you go to work, you listen and obey the rules, you obey your company's rules or the school rules, you do the work you need to do, you mind your behavior, you treat people with a modicum of respect, and then the liberals come and tell you that you're the cause of people like this going and committing 80 car break-ins and armed robberies and stealing guns and things. And then on the part of the guns go and you the law-abiding person, all of you should have your guns taken away. Meanwhile, he's probably had gun charges dropped. Certainly, he won't be held account for all of the charges that would go with the Glock switches, the machine gun switches, and things like these kinds of crimes. Probably the sentencing that could go along with them would probably be like tens of years in prison. And as a law-abiding person, you worry about those kind of things. But then the most law-abiding worry about these things. And if they committed something like this, man, break a gun law in a liberal state, and they'll throw the book at you. You drove through the state and you forgot you had maybe a gun in your trunk or a normal 30-round magazine. That's not high capacity. That's a normal magazine for plenty of guns. And places like New York will throw the book at you while a place like that would release someone like this, probably like no cash bail same day. The hypocrisy is just, it's mind-numbing, this mix of anarchy and tyranny, right? Like, are they really going to throw the book at him now? He's 16, so I doubt it. He'll probably be put in like juvenile detention or something for 2 years, and then who knows if it will carry over. I mean, they said they're going to charge him as an adult, and hopefully they do. At this point, at 275 or 277 charges, the likelihood of this teen being rehabilitated into a functioning adult in society is, I would just imagine, it's extremely low. And the justice system will undoubtedly let him out in probably a surprisingly low number of years, and then he's just going to commit more crimes. And there's people out today that will be eventually likely harmed by this person, and who knows if they're going to rack up some kills, some murders along the way, before ending up in the system again and again and again. And it's just like this. I mean, how many criminals in society have been let out? How many haven't been arrested? There's so many people who are like, who just haven't been caught as well. I mean, it's scary to think about how many criminals walk among us who committed heinous things. What else do I want to say about this? There is the there's the idea that morality is like a psychiatric issue, that crime is a psychiatric issue. This is actually one of the 45 goals of the communists, outlined in the book The Naked Communist, and it was, I believe this was spoken to at Congress back in like the 50s or something. But basically, shifts the society into looking at crime as mental disorder, as psychiatric, rather than being moral issues. This infantilizes the criminal. This provides them the intellectual excuses. Like you got the intellectual leftists providing the excuse of the, oh well, it's trauma, oh it was your childhood. Oh, and the criminal is happy to take up that excuse. And so the person who needs, of all things, to be held morally accountable, who needs their locus of control to go from external and going, well, I can just I take advantage of society, I can just harm society, I can do whatever to society, and who cares? They need their locus of control to come back in here. Actually, it does matter. It affects them. They do have agency over themselves. They do have agency over their lives. No, don't go blaming white privilege. Don't go blaming systemic nonsense. Don't go blaming their childhood. Don't go blaming their trauma. Whatever explanatory uses these things may have for someone who in good faith can benefit from them, first and foremost, there needs to be a moral accountability. Because otherwise, you're just giving the person excuses, and they're just more than happy to take them. It's not my. It's like something like this can go. Oh well, it's not my fault that I did the 275 crimes. It's society's fault. It's somebody else's fault. Often, poverty is blamed as an excuse. I don't know this person's particular situation, but the left often uses poverty as an excuse for crime, which, like, on the face of it is most obviously like stupid. It's like, well, I mean, that's talking out both sides of your mouth, because at the same time they're always accusing the billionaires of being criminals just because they have money. So obviously people with wealth commit crimes too. A fair amount of them can commit crimes that like the lower classes commit as well. So obviously there's something else going on there. And while poverty can certainly influence the kind of people that you may be around, the sorts of role models that you get and things like that, it really makes a mockery of other poor people. It really makes a mockery that the notion that you that you couldn't have less or be in want. And of course, people in America who are poor have way more than people throughout all of history, and more than most people in the world who are poor as well. So our poor are still rich in terms of having housing, having food to eat. They're not starving to death. They have cell phones and data plans and running water and toilets and access to medical care, probably more medical care than middle class people who are working and having to pay for their own. So, well, there's that too. But it makes a mockery of the idea that, well, if you're poor, you can't be a moral agent. If you're poor, you can't have an internal locus of control, an internal sense of morality by which you hold yourself and one another to a higher account. And so it's an insult to the rest of poor people who actually are holding themselves to account, who actually are being responsible. The left does that. They like to come up with any excuse, man, to not hold somebody accountable. The left, the Democrats, not everyone, of course. There's exceptions, but as a party, as an ideology, this is what they do. And it's rooted, I talk about it a lot, it's rooted in the Marxism ultimately. It's maybe even deeper than that. It's rooted in sin. It's rooted in a desire to be able to reshape society, to do whatever you want. That these people who are pro-crime, who want the criminals out and make every excuse for them, and yet simultaneously want to lock up conservatives or justify things like the death of Charlie Kirk, these people are showing that they're really just awful, evil, immoral people. They're people that essentially, they are, if not actively committing the crimes, they wish to justify and wish to live in a society where evil is good and good is evil, where they get to lock up and get rid of the normal good people and commit all kinds of hedonistic, do whatever they want at any time. That's really the messaging of it. But they want to be seen as good people too. They want to be seen as good and moral people. So they have to come up with intellectual frameworks like Marxism, socialism, like systemic critical theory racism crap to justify it, to seem like they're the moral ones, as they will let guys like this out over and over. So it's a microcosm of such a massive problem. What else was I gonna say on this? It ruins the distinction. Also, this soft on crime, pro-crime, make every excuse for crime, ruins the distinction between that some cultures and some values are different. Not just different, but that they are better than others, right? That a culture that inculcates hard work, the protection of people's of their, I was going to say bodily rights, but that could be taken the wrong way, of the rights to private property, to their person to not be harmed, just classical sorts of rights like we have in the Constitution. That these values are higher. These values are different, to respect other people, to not rob them, to respect them, to not hold them at gunpoint, to respect them, to not break their cars and break into them and steal them. Like this person is an example of a cultural rot where there's millions of people who have criminal records. There's millions of people in America and all over the world by which who exist in their own culture in which they don't value other people the way that normal people do. They don't value the property of other people, the rights of other people, to not harm them, take their things, threaten them. They're in a different sort of they have maybe apathetic, anarchic, maybe nihilistic, selfish, narcissistic sorts of values or values with double standards, whereby, of course, like maybe the drug dealing criminal doesn't want the thief and robber would themselves be upset and vindictive if somebody stole from them, right? Like we all know that criminals don't want crimes committed against themselves, right? There's the obvious double standard, that within prisons, criminals in prisons will still commit crimes against each other and commit retribution against one another as well. So it's this chaotic, this value system, this criminal culture of chaotic, hedonistic, anarchic hypocrisy, ultimately sinful. It's just like the chaos of sin. And so there are things that are better, and there are things that are worse, right? But the left goes, well, it's all the same. Don't make values judgments. Don't judge. Don't say something's better or worse. Come up with every excuse in the world. Oh, also, American, white, or European cultures are evil and the worst and need to be gotten rid of. Accuse anybody of saying that something is better about American culture than another culture, or that America's better than another country, and just call it white supremacy. And in so doing, water down the evil that is actual white supremacy as well. That kind of mindset. Oh, I swear the left's response to everything is like wrong. What else was I gonna say? As in that book, Life at the Bottom, as Theodore Dalrymple talks about, that when there is higher culture, when there is higher morality, there's things to strive for in that. There's things to point to. There's things to go, I want to rise up to that. I want to be more like that. I want to be more like that person. I don't want to be like the person who's the robber criminal who's mimicking the lyrics of a rap song or a rapper or something. Like, I want to strive for something better. I want to strive to be like maybe the Elon Musk of the world and be entrepreneurial and invent something, come up with great ideas that create new immeasurable wealth. Or I want to strive to be that morally virtuous person, maybe a hardworking father who abides by the law and raises their children well. I want to strive for that kind of thing. And the left in their self-destructive toxic guilt wants to go, oh, well, there's no, don't make any judgments like that. It's all the same. Except something is worse. It's like that from Animal Farm when the line is like all animals were equal, but some animals were more equal than others. It's like, well, all cultures and values are all totally equal and good, except when they're obviously not. And also American culture is the worst. And also the conservative, gun-toting, God-believing culture that obeys the law and safely owns guns, and just things like that. Like, that's like the worst, right? This is the messaging of the left. I'm almost done. It misplaces moral agency and accountability onto other people for vague and less issues, while writing off the much greater offense of the criminal. And so I noted this earlier, just like the blame for society that the left does. Blame parents, blame society, blame the upbringing, blame like anybody else as the reason, as the excuse. And so then the agency, the locus of control is on everybody else, but not on the person who's done these things. Come up with every excuse in the world. Well, it's like like if you actually looked at somebody's lives, like who operates like this, who's successful? Like if you're at all successful in your life, if you're at all law abiding in your life, like what is it actually due to? And if you've ever run into barriers, if you've ever had hard things happen in your life, like what actually was the causes for those things? Was it because of, if you're successful, was it because of a system that just propelled you forward and made you successful? Or what are all the micro behaviors and micro interactions that make up your day, your week, your year, and how you live that move you to where you are. Like that's how we operate, and that's how we get where we're going. And at the same time, all the excuses the left makes would excuse away all of the choices, all of the decisions, all the things that play into why this person or any other countless criminals, particularly if they have intersectionality, to add to their excuses. If you actually looked at the lives of the career criminal, of the person that the left wants to swoon over and make every justification for, what would you actually see as the reasons why? Was it systemic oppression, or was it actually all manner of day-to-day actions in which their decisions actually led to self-destruction? Decisions that harmed themselves, decisions that harmed other people in their lives, decisions that were irresponsible and over again. Is that what would actually be? And then, of course, like the most obvious solutions are missed. I like that the officer in this video was saying that this person needs to be held accountable. I think she mentioned judges as well. I think she was careful in what she was saying, but the most obvious solution is that people need to be held accountable, that children need to be held accountable. Like the most formative years are times when they need to be held, at all times accountable. At some point, you're going to run into somebody who holds you accountable, I hope. The thing is that children should be held accountable while they're younger, while the consequences are smaller, so that they're shaped up, so that they don't have to run into the accountability that is they try to mug the wrong person at 16, or they're running from the police at 16, and now they're dealing with serious stuff. They need correction early. They need teaching early and moral foundations. Like, this is a morality issue. This is when it comes right down to it, like, if you just look at yourself, you know how you operate. You go, I wouldn't want to do that to somebody else. That hurts their feelings. That hurts them. I wouldn't want that done to me. That's what you can think. You can go all the way back to childhood. And it's like, oh, they're crying, they're sad. Not good. Don't want to do that. Oh, I didn't like that when they did that to me. Oh, I got in trouble for doing that thing. The teacher or my parent punished me for doing that thing and told me that was wrong, and I feel guilty for it. That's a moral training. There's no psychological excuse. The thing that needs to happen is responsibility, that behavior, that choices are happening inside of here, inside of that little human being. They need to be learning that early on, so that you don't get to 16 years old and you're thinking it's anybody else's that it's everybody else in the world's fault. So the people who are without excuse, besides the criminals, because I don't want to blame I don't want to just blame the leftists, the people inculcating this into society that are making every excuse in the world for bad behavior, for criminal behavior, while simultaneously directing all sorts of moral hatred towards the conservative right, while kids becoming criminals are getting the messages and justification. I think that they still know within them that what they're doing is wrong, and they choose to do it anyway, and so they still need to be held accountable. But also the liberal, the leftists, the parents, teachers, counselors, administrators, principals, the judges, the DAs, the prosecutors, the people who do know better, should know better, ought to know better. Well, they're part of this problem too. Like, they know better, and they still want to look the other way, just as looking the other way and justifying the whole trans nonsense thing. Like, they know the most obvious thing in the world, that you can't change sex, can't change gender, wordplay, and they went along with it. And they'll make every excuse in the world for the 16-year-old career criminal. So I've waxed on about this. I meant to do like a 10-minute video, and now I'm probably at like 50 minutes or something. But those are my thoughts on this. Those are my thoughts on this, and just countless stories like it. I think that they should throw the book at him and any other person with 275 charges. I don't have an answer for what do you do with youth offenders. I mean, 18 is an arbitrary number for an age. You can see the trajectory of this person's life. You can see the trajectory of 14, 15, 16-year-olds who are committing violent crimes, who are committing crimes over and over again and all the time. And they just go into adulthood and they do the same things and harm more people. So what does society do when you've got people who won't operate within society and going, well, the prisons are full. Well, so we just released them. Well, the court systems are inundated, so over in England, there was just an article I was seeing. There's this news about them. I don't know if they were doing it or not, but like if the crime was going to be not reach a certain threshold, I think maybe if it was like less than 3 years or something, then they wouldn't get a trial jury because there's so much crime to deal with. And so it's like, obviously society is not dealing with these things the right way if there's so many criminals that it's overwhelming the system, right? Like the law-abiding people who become victims of this only suffer more when the system is too inefficient and too light-handed and slack in how it's dealing with crime. Well, I don't have an answer, and there probably isn't one. This is probably just the way society is going to keep going. And it's going to produce more of it, unfortunately. Anyway, this was a ridiculous story. I could probably find 10 more just like it easily. There's probably tons more. But I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like dwelling on this any longer. This is repugnant, and society should not have to tolerate any human being who's just going to keep committing crime over crime over crime over crime over and over and over again. At the minimum, someone doing this, I don't care what their age is, needs to be locked up and removed from society. Society needs to be kept safe. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. So tell me what you think. Leave a comment below, and I'll see what else I've got to talk about on here. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.